right now,
Okay.
and it should be popping up in a minute. And I will copy that link and put it in the chat once it's showing. It's not showing yet. Let me be on my page. So now we're live. So anything we say, people can hear. So be careful. We got a live mic.
3 o'clock.
We'll copy that link and put it in the chat. All right, guys, we're live. We got some people join. I see Odessa join.
No, I was just copying.
So I copied the link and put it there. If you want to, Lou, you want to send it to anyone for them to join, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm trying it right now to see if it comes up because I know a lot of people are interested in hearing this. So, let's see. Paste, post. It just keeps giving me the.
I'm gonna delete the link that I put in there because it looks weird being in there. All right, we already got a couple of people join us. It's 3:01. Lou, are you ready?
I can't. I don't have it on my site. We can go ahead and start, and then
just copy the link. Do you have the link?
Is it on your?
It's on my page.
Okay, yeah. Let me find you.
Let me
and then
send it to you by message.
District 23 is definitely interested in hearing what we have to say today. Okay, I got you pulled up.
Okay, Lou, I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna what is the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna copy and paste the link to you on your messenger. There you go. It's on your messenger.
Great. Yeah, that works. That works. Perfect. Is it on your
it's on paste the link to you on your messenger. There you go. It's on your messenger.
Great. Yeah, that works. All right, I got it. I'm copying and let's see. Oops. Paste. Post. All right, we got District 23 live.
All right, thanks everyone. I know we got a bunch of people join us already. Thank you for being here. I want to thank my panelists for also being here. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the budget, and we've been looking at it from different perspectives. We had some council members come by and talk to us about the substitutes. We've also talked about how we got here. I will do a recap of that shortly. But you can also find all those videos that we've done in the last couple of weeks on my Facebook page. You can also find them on the Metro page. And so feel free to go look at them. I also have a blog on my website, www.zolfaswara.com, that also has some of this information. But for today, I wanted to look at the community perspectives. And I have with me leaders in the community, people that are working in the community in different perspective, in different area of town with different groups, that I wanted to hear what their view is on the budget as we continue the conversation. So before I bring on my panel, I wanted to give you like a very quick overview of how we got here, in case we have people that are joining us for the first time. Basically, Metro is in a very bad financial state. We have no rainy funds. Because of the COVID, we've lost a lot of revenue from our sales tax revenue and some other fees that we charge. But we're not the only city that is losing money. Unfortunately, the other cities are able to go into their rainy day funds or their savings to be able to make ends meet. Unfortunately, we don't have a rainy day funds. A lot of you will be thinking, how come Nashville is growing? How come we don't have money? There's a lot of things that has added to that. One of it is that we don't have access to some of the money we've raised over the years. When we built the community center, the convention center, there was a deal that went into the building of that center that says that the money that we're raising downtown will be staying downtown to pay for the bond that was used to pay for the building. And so when you see some of that money coming in, it's not available for general funds or for the government to spend. The other thing that has also impacted where we are is that over the last couple of years, we choose not to raise taxes for a whole lot of reasons. And because we did not, what we've done is we've decided to use debt to finance all of our operations. So we have a whole lot of debt, some of them current, some of them even from the 2010 flood. But what we have been doing is we've been pushing the payment on those debt forward for so many years, and now some of them have caught up with us. And our debt is so much, even larger than the state of Tennessee, that we've got to do something about that. Another reason is that we are limited by the state of Tennessee in some of the things that we can do. The state's payment to our schools, our BEP payment is going down every year. And when the state is not making funds available to the school, it comes out of Metro. And so when you put all of that together, and like I said, we have not raised taxes for a number of years. As a matter of fact, there are people in our community that saw their tax bill go down in the last 2 or 3 years because we voted, council voted not to raise taxes during the time of surplus, I would say. And so now we are here. We're in a place wherein we have to continue the government. We have to keep doing what we need to do. The comptroller came and told us that if we don't get our house in order, the state will probably take over. They may take over. I don't think we're there yet, but we don't want to get there. And so that's why we're here. That's what we're trying to do. The mayor has already said that we are in the old 352 million for this year's budget. And to cover that deficit, the mayor is proposing $1 increase in taxes. Chairman Mendes is proposing $1.06 in taxes because he believes that the mayor's budget is not covering some essential services and some community groups that we need to take care of. We have Freddie O'Connor, Councilmember O'Connor proposed another substitute that is going to be based mostly on loans, but it reduced the tax rate. CM Glover has another proposal that he's putting in. It was on last week. This will be based on a 31-cent increase, and then the rest will be from land deals, loans, and a combination of many things, including will tax. So that's where we are. I just want to give a very brief summary of where we are. Now, for those of you that are listening, this is how this is going to work. My panelists will speak for about 16 to 20 minutes. I try to make sure that we don't go beyond 30 minutes in all our conversation so that we can open it up for question to those of you that are listening. And so you put your question in the chat box. If you have a question for a specific panelist, make sure to put their name on there. So Odessa, that's a question for her. Put the name of the panelist. If it's a general one that you want anyone to address, just put it in there without a name. I'm going to say that because we have different people on the panel, anytime I have more than one person, I always like to let everyone know that this is a civil conversation. This is for information only. We have to be civil with each other. We don't have to agree. We have different opinion, but we should not be rude to each other, and we should make sure that we just ask the question and we provide the information. So with that, I want to introduce my panel. We have with us Ms. Dawn Harrington. Dawn is with the People's Budget, is the group that has come up lately that is sent us a whole lot of emails, and they were able to come to the last Metro meeting asking for some things on the budget. I also have with me Ms. Odessa Kelly. Odessa is with Stand Up Nashville, and they have some information they want to see happen in this conversation. Also with me is Ms. Lou Wilbanks. Lou is a leader in District 23 that covers the Westmead, Belmead, Bellevue area. She does not want a tax increase, and I want her to come here and give us a view. And last but not least, my friend Hamir Husseini is a financial advisor, works with a lot of company on their budget and things like that. And I wanted him to provide the perspective on what we need to be doing. So with that, I'm going to call on Don. Thank you, Don, for being here. Like I said, you are with the People's Budget. I think by now everybody's heard about the People's Budget, at least everyone on the council. So can you please give an overview of what is the People's Budget? What is it asking for? What does it contain? What are the misconception, or what do you think people need to know? Where are you with it? And whatever you need to share with us in the next 4 to 5 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Councilwoman, for having me here today. As you mentioned, my name is Dawn Harrington. I'm with the Nashville People's Budget Coalition. We were formed to build a Nashville where public safety includes communities with fully funded education, access to housing and healthcare, and freedom from policing and incarceration. Police and incarceration have a very dark history in this city. As an institution from its origin, it was created to catch runaway slaves. And we haven't reconciled with that racism and violence until this day. William Johnson Jr. Was just killed by Nashville police on May the 21st, and several concerns have yet to be addressed in his murder. We know about Daniel Hambrick, who was shot in the back, and Jacquees Clemens, who was shot after a traffic stop. Timothy Lane, who's Jacola Lane's uncle, was shot in the back and the neck in the year of 2000. I myself have even had a assault rifle pulled on me by a police officer at a traffic stop. My brother was sicked by dogs when he was in handcuffs, and they let him bite his legs all up while he was already detained. We even saw a 10-year-old get tear gas just a couple of weeks ago at a protest by Metro Nashville police. And the Community Oversight Board that was voted for by Nashvillians has continued to be obstructed by this institution. And you know, this institution, it continues to enact violence on us and on our communities. And although it has been normalized, it is not okay. And when it comes to incarceration, taxpayers are spending over $100 per day to incarcerate people, the majority of which have not even been convicted of a crime and are only there because they can't afford to pay bail. We have protesters right now who cannot be released because they can't afford to pay. Whereas if someone else had money, they would be able to get out. So we're paying $100 per day for that. We're paying over $300 per day to cage our kids. And these are children who have not even seen a percentage of that investment post-incarceration. And we know that to be true, and we see it every day. As for Free Hearts, who I work for, which is a part of the coalition, we go into 10 different schools, and we see, you know, police taking children out in handcuffs. We often see random K-9 searches in middle schools, K-9 searches in middle schools. And some of these same schools don't even have a 6th grade math teacher, don't even have a 7th grade science teacher. So, you know, people think that defunding the police is a radical idea until we realize that we have continuously defunded education and defunded many of the things that our communities need. And so, yes, it's radical, but it's radical as the definition states, which means getting to the root of the issue. So, you know, we show with our budget paid by taxpayers where our priorities lie, where our priorities are as a city. So we just put the facts out there and let the people decide what a people's budget would look like. And yes, we saw this record length marathon public hearing where people wanted their voices to be heard based on the information. And also we conducted an online survey, and in just 4 days, we got over 5,000 responses from all over Nashville, from every part of Nashville. And from there, we made the results public, and we sent them to City Council and to see what could be done. And amendment number 26, introduced by Council Member Jenny Welsh, is an amendment that most closely aligns with what the people want. And, it's a strong amendment that reflects the will of the people to defund the police and divest from incarcerating our people and invest in the public goods that we all need. And I can speak more in the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Next, I want to go to Lou. And somebody actually started that conversation in the chat box saying 32% tax increase is completely unacceptable. And so I think that's a segue to your view on this budget conversation. You've seen the numbers. I told you about some of the substitute that we have there and what is going on. What is your view on the budget? What is your take generally on where we are and what you would like to see happen as a community leader?
Thank you, Zulfa, Councilwoman, for having me. I have a website with our district, so I hear from a lot of people, and one of the big discussions is taxes. 32% is just outrageous. And right now, what I'm getting from people is they don't trust Metro government. They have spent, and right now we're operating in the negative. They want to know also, what is Metro government giving up? They're the second largest employer in the city, and correct me if I'm wrong, but businesses are laying off people. Metro government has non-essential workers who have not been laid off, none that I know of. People are concerned that this burden is being placed on us and our city council members. No offense, because I like you guys, but you serve 2 terms, you get lifetime insurance. Metro employees get unmatched retirement funds, whereas if we contribute to a 401k, whatever we contribute is matched by an employer. That's not fair, and a lot of us have issues with that. Now, as far as the 32%, in West Nashville, we're really not seeing people lose their homes and businesses closing, because it's not that we're removed from it, but it's a wealthier community. I mean, just being honest, but I do a lot of community work throughout Nashville, and I want everyone to look outside your front door in this area too, and let's see what we can do for all of Nashville, because there's no do-overs with this tax increase in this budget. And I've had questions like, well, can we just raise it for now? No, once it is raised 30 to 32%, if that happens, it doesn't go back down. And another thing, people are saying, well, Mayor Cooper is proposing this, but we have to fund our schools and help our teachers. This budget does not allow for step raises for teachers. And so we have issues like that. And another thing is our small businesses and the people that they employ. That is the backbone of Nashville. These businesses are hanging on by a thread right now, waiting to see what's going to happen. And if this 32% budget increase happens, we're going to lose more small businesses. They're going to move to other counties, or they're just going to close. And if we're dependent on sales tax revenue, then losing businesses and rising unemployment is not going to help that. I mean, that's going to hurt as well. So right now we're looking at the end date of June 30th, unless we can get an extension. And I really hope our city council will do that so that we can continue to come up with alternatives to lower that 32%. And as far as that goes, we're going to have a property tax raise, and we need to decide what's reasonable. We know that taxes were cut not long ago, well, a couple years ago, and went down. So to me, and what I'm hearing from other people, at the most, split the difference. Metro clean up their house and expenses, and then the taxpayers and property owners, excuse me, take over the other half to generate income and get Nashville out of this hole that we have dug. So that's pretty much it. People are willing to contribute. They just don't want the entire deficit placed on their shoulders when Metro is not doing anything to earn their trust, or laying off people, or closing the gap between us. So.
Thank you, Lou. And I'll get to the questions. I think they're starting to come in, but I want to give everyone the opportunity to be able to give their overview. So at this point, I want to call on Odessa. So Odessa, we have both Don and Lou talking about the budget and where they want to see it. The way that I see it is this: if we go with a budget that funds on the essential services that we wanted and did not cut anything, what you're going to see with that is that it means that people will pay more taxes. And so people will need help. On the flip hand, if we go with Lou and say, let's not increase the taxes, let's have a reduced tax, which means we're going to lay people off, people are still going to need help. And so no matter what we do, it will impact members of our community either way. And so I know the Stand Up Nashville, as well as a lot of people that I've been talking about this CARES Act money that we have, this 121 million that we need to use to help the people. So can you speak more about that in terms of what are you proposing? What do you think we should be doing with it? And how can we help people on either side? No matter what decision we make, I can tell you that people will be impacted. So how do we reduce or buffer or mitigate the impact on the people?
Right. I'll stick to the point so that way I can get it all in. Let me explain it. So the federal government gave us 121 million to help the people deal with the COVID-19 crisis. We had the money for about a month to 6 weeks now, but what we don't have is a plan to spend it. So before the tornado even hit on March 3rd, our city was already facing an economic crisis. Distrust in elected officials was growing. It's at an all-time high, especially in Black, brown, immigrant, and working class neighborhoods. And the mistrust is not just police, it's all of it. So as we see it, it's the responsibility of elected officials and civil servants to fix the parts of the Commonwealth that are broken. We know there are a lot of immediate needs in this city, but nothing can be more pressing than fixing the lack of trust that currently exists. So we proposed a plan with the CARES Act money and where it was needed the most. COVID doesn't hit everyone equally. The CARES Act spending must be done with a racial equity lens. The death rate of Black Nashvillians is basically twice that of our white counterparts. This isn't because the virus affects us more. It really exposes the systematic inequalities that we have in healthcare, the economic conditions, and so forth, right? So basically what we did is that we thought about the 3 buckets, right? People, what we found out in COVID, they got stressed out over like how are they gonna keep shelter over their head, how they gonna keep a check in their pocket, and like where food is coming from, or if they're gonna keep their job. So one of the things that we talked about is household support. People are struggling to pay their rent, groceries, childcare, etc. People have lost their jobs. Either this week or next week, eviction court is starting back, but many people that haven't gone back to work. So we're about to start evicting people. They haven't had any time to recoup any of the money that they lost due to COVID. So that's why we're asking that a lot of the money be allocated to household support. The second thing is small business support. A lot of businesses are struggling. We hear them. The state just said that it was going to do small business relief with its CARES Act money. Nashville should do the same thing. And then finally, the workforce development and worker safety issue. As businesses reopen, we need to have health and safety monitoring for all these businesses, especially the ones that receive public dollars. We could provide PPE. There are a lot of businesses that can't open because they don't have that equipment. We should be able to provide that for them with this CARES Act money. This is also an opportunity. So many people need pathways out of poverty. And then whenever there are disasters or calamities that happen in other places, people use it as an opportunity to give people a better footing in life. We can do the exact same thing with this CARES Act money, right? There are essential workers out here that should have hazard pay. And I think we really define who we consider essential worker these days. And as of now, some are getting it, but not all. So we can help displaced workers get apprenticeship readiness programs with good employers. And reason we say is apprenticeship readiness is because that means these are programs that are federally certified, where even if you can't work here in Nashville, you can go anywhere in the country and get yourself a job. That is how we start to uplift our residents and get them out of poverty. So these are the things that we need to do with the money. People act like it's really complicated, but it's not. Simply just give the money to the people. There's the most pressing thing that we need to do is build trust with the people.
You're on mute.
All right, see, technology got me one more time. All right, so my last panelist is Amir. Amir is a financial expert. That's what he does in his professional life, and he works with businesses and individuals, companies especially that are going through rough times. And so somebody actually started a question that I think is good for Amir to use as an opening. Somebody said, what are some of the mistakes that we've made in the past that we should not make again? Why are we always here every year, at least as far as I know? We've been in this budget conversation. Metro don't have money. We've been through this so many times. And here we are again in a city that is booming, in the EAT city. What are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? How do we make sure that next year budget cycle, we're still not saying the same thing that we were saying when I was running last year? And so what is your take as a financial expert, somebody that's working this realm a lot? What should we be doing?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think, first of all, thank you for having me. And I think that's a very good leading question. I would start very quickly by trying to summarize the problem. I think we come every year and look for scrambling last minute to find how we can fill a gap in the budget. The problem with this approach is a number of things. One, we're missing the impact. There's no analysis of what impact this will have on the most vulnerable people, businesses, and the most vulnerable part of the economy. And this is something that instead of basically balancing a budget, we're self-destructing, because next year they're going to be hit harder than anybody else, and the year after, and the year after. So every time we come to that final trying to balance the budget last minute because of a big issue, we're making decisions that are solely focused on numbers, on how do we balance numbers, and not focusing on how do we grow an economy and how do we address members of that economy, basically, and citizens in that case, or residents. This is the first piece. I think the big misconception here is, the scarcity mindset versus the mindset of abundance, of we need to create a bigger economy that automatically brings in more revenues instead of trying to take away more of what we have, the small part of the economy. And I've been saying this for a while. We are not doing what we need to be doing, like other modern cities around the world, to grow the economy the way we should. Modern economies create their own jobs. They don't buy jobs from the outside. They don't incentivize job relocations and celebrate day in, day out how great the city is doing. That's not how modern economies grow. I think we need to start thinking of the future as, first of all, like to summarize them, one, we need to grow the economy the right way. The right way of growing the economy is by looking at small and medium-sized businesses, empowering these, and making sure that they are growing at a rate that they deserve to be growing at. We need to look at portions of the economy, what is called the knowledge economy: science, technology, engineering, math, research, scientific research, and growing these parts of the economy that outweigh any other growth in indirect terms. So every one of these jobs automatically empowers or creates 4.5 other jobs with it. And those are your lawyers, your accountants, your restaurant staff, your, like all the way, your doctors, everybody, your investors, everybody, all that gamut comes with these types of jobs. Those are the right jobs for the economy. We can't grow the economy like we did in the 70s, where we just go around the country and try to convince somebody to bring us 5,000 jobs and throw our tax money at it as incentive. Those jobs are the worst investment scientifically, are the worst investment that a city can or a government can do in terms of our tax money. If you look at the numbers and you analyze the last 100 years, this produced the lower return on our tax money as a country. The highest return came from scientific research, from STEM, basically knowledge economy driven, even in the 50s and 60s. What happened in quantum computing that led to the creation of the internet and to the creation of Google and to the creation of whatever, those are the highest returns on investment. Instead of going and begging or asking companies to send us 500 jobs, we can create a competitor to this company that ultimately will employ 100,000 or 50,000. And I haven't seen, if you look at what we've done, proof of what I'm saying is we haven't created large companies successfully over the past 20 years. Like the last thing we've done is in the 70s, 80s, when we had our wins with healthcare. But healthcare is changing. Nobody's going to the hospital the same way they did in 10 years, and we need to fill a coming gap. This gap is going to enlarge. It's not going to get smaller, I think. So we need to be planning properly for how to enlarge the economy enough so that there's more revenue coming in, instead of thinking on how do we get more taxes by increasing the tax rate. We can get a lot more taxes if we grow the economy the proper way. And the four summary, like just to summarize, so I said, grow the economy. The second point is rationalize the budget. So every time I go to a company for a turnaround or for a restructuring, you can't just go and tell investors, we need more money, give us more money and everything will be fine. This is a recipe for a disaster in the long term. I think what we need to do is to rationalize the budget, and we're making sure that we're running a very efficient government. I think Lou pointed to a number of examples that make sense, at least to be taken into consideration. I think we need to be planning in advance and understanding the impact of tax increases on the most vulnerable and the small businesses and the people. We don't want to turn the tax increase into a cycle of gentrification and people relocating and people not able to afford where they live anymore. The fourth point I would say is we need, like, the backbone of the economy is the small and medium size. They are underrepresented. I'm talking about companies. They are under-supported, and they don't have, like, they're not anywhere represented in decision circles. This has to change very quickly, I think, proactively, instead of just waiting for it to happen on its own. Because if it happens on its own, the natural way of how things end up is there will be a lot more. It's like you get your company gives you your raise only when you get another offer from the outside, and they're just matching it. You won't take it. You say, thank you very much. You didn't see the value of what we are bringing or what I'm bringing until I got another offer. So thank you very much. I'm leaving. It's the same thing with companies.
Thank you. Thank you, Amir. We've started to have some questions come in. I'm going to start with Dawn. Dawn, when you say defund the police and all that, so does that mean we don't need police? Are you saying that we should not have police anymore?
Mm-hmm. Well, my personal opinion is no, but this isn't about my opinion. This is what the people have said. And so I can go into some details about what the people have demanded that happens with the money that filled out our survey. Again, this was 5,000 people. We cut it off. It was like right over 5,000 in 4 days off from Nashville, all parts of Nashville as well. And so for us, for what the people decided, and again, Jenny Welch's amendment most closely aligns with this. So I'm just going to go through some of the details of what is in here. This is decreasing the police budget by $107 million, decreasing the sheriff's budget by, and I'm just rounding it to make it easy instead of going to each number in the number. So a little over $107 million for the police, decreasing the sheriff's budget by over $3 million, and increasing the MMPS budget by $20 million, increasing the Barnes Affordable Housing Trust by over $9 million, increasing Metro Social Services by over $10 million, increasing the health department by over $9 million, and increasing, and investing in Gideon's Army violence interrupters, who many community members trust much more than the police. It's built on a sound model, and by over $2 million. Also increasing MTA's budget by over $8 million, and Metro Action Commission by over $6 million. Subsidy Hospital Authority by over $7 million, the Arts Commission by over $4 million, and the Public Library by over $4 million. The Property Tax Relief Program, which we've heard here, by increasing by over $4 million, increasing the allocation of social services by over $10 million, and increasing pedestrian infrastructure by over $4 million, and increasing miscellaneous community agency services by over $2 million. So that is
Dawn.
the budget. Yes.
Okay, I want you to, if there's a way to, is there a place to find the details? I'll tell my panelists, not to be rude, that if you can be short in your responses so we can take a lot of questions, and if there's a way to put the link, just tell me what it does in that it's reallocating from the police to several services. Does that make sense? That way we can go through a lot of questions.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. That's what it does. So the people are demanding bold action. The Nashville People's Budget is about taking bold action to invest in our community infrastructure and to divest in the violence that's happening, particularly against Black and Brown people. Thank you.
Thank you. Odessa, Stand Up Nashville has all this recommendation that is put forward. Before I go to some of the question online, is this tested? Because what we don't want is a situation where we're recommending some things to do with the money and the federal government comes back and said, you cannot do that with the money. So as some of this being done in other areas, is this something that we know for sure we can do based on the proposal?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Other cities like Chattanooga here already is doing this. Austin, Texas, Houston, these are cities who are already doing this. They're doing rent relief, you know. The bottom line is that money needs to get to people who have been impacted the most by COVID, right? And so before we start doing any silly or complicated things with them, we know where people are hurt the most and how the money needs to get to them. But in essence, yes, there are other models across the country who are already doing this. So there's no reason why we can't either.
Okay. For Lou, you did say something about the taxes. Once we set it, it never goes down. I can say that it does sometimes, because this year is going to be an assessment year, and usually for an assessment year, the tax rate do go down, and so people do see a reduction in their taxes. We've seen that happen to a lot of people in Nashville. So somebody asked specifically, and I tried to ask the question as people are putting it on that. Did you see a reduction in your taxes from 2007? Did your tax go down from between 2017 and 2018? It was a question directed for you.
Yes, mine went down $200. And but again, the appraisal value of my home and the inflated values of our homes around here have increased so much due to the housing market. So I don't foresee when we have this next tax assessment that our taxes are going to go down. I mean, we have countries buying up real estate here to rent out, you know. So no, I don't see it going down. And if we get this 32% tax increase pushed through and we have an assessment year next year, which we do, most likely we're going to see another tax hike in most areas.
Okay. Now, I typically don't push back on my guests because I do want everybody. to have their say, but I think that statement is not correct. I think to say for a fact that we will see a tax increase is not a true statement. Historically, when you have, because the law is that you cannot raise more money in an assessment year than you raised the year before. So what you're going to see is that when you have an assessment year and you have increase in property values, the tax rate will go down. It's a mathematical calculation. That's what has happened. The only people that will see an increase are people like, I know that in East Nashville and North Nashville, because of gentrification and because their houses went up so high, their taxes went up. But if you live in places like Belmead and Bellevue and Forest Hills, and the house market is stable, it's not going up drastically, when that tax rate go down, your tax value go down. So I want to make sure that I don't want to put something out there that is not correct. Now, some people may
Right.
see an increase if their property went up, but it's not going to be everybody. And so I want to at least say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at all of Nashville, so
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So Emil, the question here for you is this: how can we grow job locally without investing in public education and public infrastructure? Is that even possible?
Yes, it is possible, but investing in local infrastructure and local education is a must. But if you even look at where we are as a starting point today, we are, as a city, a net exporter of talent. We have all these academic institutions, mostly of higher education, Vanderbilt and all the others. If you go and see statistics on how many graduates want to stay, they are a minority, the minority that have somebody here or that got a job somehow in town. The majority are exported outside. So we train talent, we build talent, and we send it outside. Instead of having them stay and build their own startup and funding it for them and growing it and keeping it in the city, and then finding them jobs with the like most appropriate places, they are leaving. They are leaving because we're not creating the right types of jobs. And that goes back to the issue I'm talking about. We need the right growth within our economy. We don't want to keep incentivizing the right jobs to be coming and celebrating that as if we're killing it. We're not. This is not the reality. And like proof of which, those graduates that are very bright, very talented, like they've invested a lot of time and money in getting to where they are, they're leaving. They're leaving with their startup, they're leaving with their talent to find a hub somewhere else. So that whole process, I think, is a starting point. And then absolutely, do we need to invest in our public education and our infrastructure? No doubt about it, because that's going to grow the pipeline for the future of these talented individuals that would become the future of our economic growth. I think we're starting from two layers. The first is the gap we already have that we're not capitalizing on. And second is, how do we build better for the future?
Okay. There's a question here about, we are okay with defunding education. Why is there such a fear of defunding police, jails, and courts? Anybody wants to answer that? And for those that are putting question, please, if I miss your question, please type it again. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read as I see them, but I could miss something. And so please, if you don't mind, put them again. And please put them in a question form so that I can address it. So is there a fear? Why is there a fear of defunding the jails and the police? Does anybody want to tackle that?
I can just say something to it, and then would love to hear if anybody else had anything to say. But that's a good question, because the data shows, like where we look at localities that have defunded police and decreased police presence. Defunding the police does not mean more crime; it means less crime. And even Governor Lee's Criminal Justice Task Force has reflected that although we as our state incarceration has gone up, several localities incarceration rates have gone down and their crime has gone down. So all of this policing and incarceration does not make us safer, as some people have commented. I mean, as some people have commented on our posts, but it actually will make us safer if we defund the police. and invest in our communities and our community success? So that is a good question. I come from a family of educators, so I definitely care about education. And yeah, I have that question as well. Thanks.
There is a follow-up question that says, and I think the PD means police department. Ronald is saying that, okay, if we do this and this pass, how are we going to be sure that the police can function effectively and efficiently?
The thing is, they can reduce, there's a whole bunch of over policing that's not happening in some of our communities, but is happening in a lot of our communities. And so they can still function effectively. It doesn't mean hunting down people, over policing, patrolling, all of the unnecessary things, and investing in alternatives such as like Gideon's Army, who has a lot of trust in these communities, can replace that what they feel like is effective. And I also can challenge that a lot, it's not being as effective as needed as is. Thank you.
All right, Amir, this one is for you. Can you recommend sources for us to learn more about STEM? And you can send the link, or you can put it in the chat if you want to. But somebody wants to know if it's something that you can recommend.
I can definitely do that. There are plenty of sources. One way just to find it out very quickly until I just find a few good resources is by just typing like STEM implications on economic growth or knowledge. How do we build a knowledge economy? There's a report that Brookings did for Nashville a couple of years ago to talk about how we, where are the gaps in our economy and how to build a technology-focused economy that has more startups that get funded by the city and stay. There's also a very good economist that talks about the multiplier effect. His name is Enrico Moretti, and he is at Stanford, if I'm not mistaken. He's done a lot of research on the multiplier effect of economic job creation. So basically, when we create STEM-related jobs, we're creating a 4.5 or 4.4 multiplier. So every job creates 4.4 others, whereas when you're talking about a manufacturing or a back office job, you're creating a 1.3 multiplier, almost a quarter. That's how much difference in economic impact. But those are some resources. I can send more.
And you can put that in the link for us later so we can go to some other questions. Amir, you'll be able to put that in the Facebook link for us. Okay. Yeah. So Lou raised some points about businesses are losing, they're losing business. They're having to lay off people. And that's one of the reasons why we don't want an increased tax, because the businesses are doing things. But Metro has not done that. And I think that's the bulk of what she's saying. So what is anyone that jumps into this, what is your view on layoffs? If businesses are doing it, why don't we do that in order to be able to reduce the burden of taxes on the others, on this rest of the citizens? Why just property taxes?
Okay, you're asking
you. I'm not asking you, Lou.
Oh, you know,
I'm asking the others. You are saying that that's something that you would like to see happen so that we can reduce the taxes. For the people that don't think we should, that think we should keep the mayor's budget, is there any response?
Well, I have a response, and it's not about as to keeping the mayor's budget. It's about, us uplifting public employees. I don't know for how many years in a row public employees took cuts and losses just to ensure that the economy could stay afloat, right? And also too, our government should be the leader in how we do these things. So that's why, like, how are people gonna do the essential services if these are the individuals that they're gonna cut? Like those are, I mean, Lou, I don't know, how is that hard to understand that, like, you have to have people doing the essential services that we deem important as a city to keep going. So.
All right. Thank you. There is a question here for anyone that wants to take it. How do we support organizations that are doing direct support to citizens, supports that are not being done by the government?
Well, there's a multitude of different ways. Feel free to jump in, Don. feel free to go to standupnashville.gov. You can go to our Facebook page, Twitter page, same as any of the other organizations on here who are doing good work. You can support by giving money. You can support by volunteering. And you can definitely support by showing up in at council meetings and, at the mayor's office and expressing your concerns about these issues if you agree or don't agree with them.
All right. I'm trying to see. So this one will be done. And it says, even with defunding the police or anybody that wants to jump in, will there be a push for implicit bias and culturally competent training for MMPD?
I think there should be, but not at the expense of increasing the budget. And I think they can work on that. I think that there's probably been trainings and we're still seeing murders and just a lot of violence that's happening. So definitely don't want to see their budget to increase, definitely still want to see them defunded. And I've heard some of that, like training well, we can't defund because we need to do more training. And my answer to that is no, that's not the case. And well, actually, I don't have to answer the other question. I was going to go back to the other question. Thank you.
If you have a response, go for it.
Well, I was just going to name that as far as like getting involved, the coalition, the organizations that are a part of this coalition are Black Lives Matter, Gideon's Army, Music City Writers United, No Exceptions Prison Collective, Free Hearts, PATH, Southerners on the Ground, Nashville, and Workers' Dignity. And those are some great organizations to get involved. If most of us are base building organizations, and we can definitely plug you into the work. And if you're into whatever you're into, we can get you connected in. Thank you.
I have a question here. It's not on Facebook. The individual is listening in, but is not able to type into Facebook. And the question is the problem, is part of the problem, and whoever wants to take this, and maybe I should, is part of the problem that we're giving too much to the state. When it comes to our sales tax, it is split between state and the city. Is the problem that we're giving too much to the state and we have all the expenses, but the state is getting the money? Is there anything we can do about that? Probably not. One of the things that I've learned since being in Metro is that one of our biggest problem is the state. There's a lot of things that Metro would like to do that we cannot do because of the state. And next week, I'm going to be doing this conversation just with me and having people ask me questions on some of the things that I've seen and the process of this budgeting. But I will tell you that almost every time we talk about doing something different, you find out that you cannot do it. The last 2 or 3 Facebook Live, people were talking about impact fees, right? But we cannot do it, even though everybody on the council voted for it, almost everyone. There was a resolution that we're looking at, and we cannot do it. Even if we say, yeah, let's go, we cannot do it. We want to do relief for property taxes. We cannot do it except for people over 65 years or veterans or disabled. And so if you said, no, let's help people that have lost their job, the state would not let you do it. You need a charter amendment on the state level. So if you go to the state and say, let's split the sales tax so that we get more than the state, no, they're not going to do it. It's just the way it is. Our sales tax right now is $9.25. 7 is the state portion, 2.25 is the city, the county portion. And so, yes, it's very low. The state gets a lot of it, but I don't think that the state will let you do that. While we are on the subject, there's been conversation about why don't we increase that sales tax to the maximum we can do is $9.75. And I did have one of those conversations. Can we increase it by 50 cents? Well, there's a number of reasons why we cannot. One is the fact that even if we do, we don't get a whole lot out of it. But 2, it will require it to be on a ballot, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And we need to give the election office a 75-day notice. And it was just so many things that goes into even trying to change that one fee. And so there's a lot that we can do, but there's a whole lot that we cannot do because of the state. And so I don't think the state will allow us to increase our portion. I doubt they will, but let's talk to our friends in other part of the state. It's not just Nashville, people that vote on things like that. If we can get all of us from rural Tennessee to metropolitan area to say our cities, our county need more money, we want to spend the money on the people, the state should take a cut. If that's what we agree to do, we the people have the power to do that, and we can do that, but it cannot just be a Nashville conversation. It has to be a statewide conversation. I'm trying to see if there's any other question. My apologies if I miss any. I found out this week that there were some that I missed last week because of the way it's rolling and I'm scrolling through them. So my apologies. But if your question is one that you want me to address, please type it again real quick so that I can see it. Let's see.
I have a comment from one of my groups.
Okay.
And one of my members is saying, if we eliminate and restructure city retirement benefits, there's a lot of savings that could mean maintaining tax rates, and this funding could be invested in the people. And I think that kind of goes with what we were saying with unmatched retirement, things like that. And this person is seeing things the same way I am. Metro's not giving up anything. The people are the ones that are facing the entire deficit burden. So I thought that was an excellent comment. And one other, can I say something about defunding the police? I think there's different interpretations of this. A lot of people think, oh, we're getting rid of the police department and maybe training a safety department, and there's different things, but no one in my area whatsoever wants to defund the police. Yes, a new police chief. Everybody's about getting rid of Chief Anderson from what I've heard, but we have we're catching Mexican drug cartel, and we have a huge influx of drugs coming into our state. Our homicide rates, our assault rates, all this stuff is going up. I mean, and right now we are 150 police officers down. We had 8 more quit just last week.
Excuse me, at the same rate, so is the racism going up in this city as well. Like, there's a place of privilege to speak from. How many public employees do you know that are rich, that out here making it? And you want to cut their retirement funds? I don't understand what place you were speaking from. These are, you say Metro, hold on for 1 second, because you spoke for a good minute. You said Metro against the people. Metro is the people. You understand that? Like you just said, they're the second largest employer, right?
I understand that because I said it.
We employ Black and brown and immigrant people. So those are the people that you want to cut.
Okay, if I may chime in, Lou, if you finish your comments, and then I'll have Odessa respond. I want you to finish your comment, and then I want Odessa to respond to it.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. One thing,
but make it quick or short so that we're running out of time.
Right. One thing I want to say was regarding the minority caucus and our oversight board and getting a diversity oversight leader. That is something I definitely hope we can invest in. And I know Sharon Hurt is over that. So I was, in addition to helping the police. So that's it.
All right, Odessa.
I just don't like this, how we can pick and choose which things we like and we don't like, right? Like people out here hurting, you know, and Metro employees have taken it on the back. You know, there is a problem with policing. Everyone understands that. So there are a lot of things that needs to be changed. I don't know how many times when I was working in Napier, just in my personal life, I've had negative impacts with the police. And so we understand that. Yet you come on, you talking about, like, I take offense that the things you want to say is Mexican cartels, right? Like that's not the issue here that we have that's impacting this city. So I'd love to see what type of numbers that you put in front of that. That is insane to say that, and that's offensive to a large, diverse community that we have here in Nashville. That is just the point that I'm making. We have real problems. Don't let surface issues divide us, right? People are underpaid. That is why we have an issue in this city. People need more money in their pockets to be able to do all the things they want to do. It's also convenient that the police, they do a lot of policing on poor people. Yeah, we can do all the policies in the world around that, but we can't fix the economic instability that's causing these issues. That is insane for you to talk about it to be a third. I'm one of the people who's going to have their property tax raised. Yet I know the rate, if the property tax is raised, that goes to schools, overwhelmingly Black and brown. It's funny how we can cut that because there's not a lot of white kids in there, right? These are things that we have to start thinking about. We have to be courageous in having a conversation around race and how it fits into all the systems that we have. At Stand Up Nashville and a lot of organizations, Gideon's Army, the Equity Alliance, Free Hearts, and everyone else, we think about the whole of Nashville, and what makes us better. There's no way the city can go forward if the lesser of us don't have. It's just that simple. And what you're talking about now is cutting from the lesser.
All right. Thank you for your thoughts. Dawn, do you want any closing remarks? And then I'll let Amir close it out, and then I'll say something too.
Yes.
Very short.
Real quick, tomorrow we have a Defend Black Lives block party, 4:00 at Nashville Public Square Park, One Public Square, to just talk more about alternatives to cops and cages, and to, celebrate us coming together and trying to figure this out together. And also just ask your council member to support Jenny Welch's amendment. If you believe in the people's budget, if you want to invest in the people, if you believe that this racism and violence that is enacted on us is wrong, ask your council member to co-sponsor and to support Jenny Welch's amendment. Thank you.
Amir.
I'm good. I said everything. No comment. Thank you.
Good guy.
Oh, wow. I think that this is a very healthy conversation. And I think that our passion came true towards the end. And I think it's because we're all speaking about things that we really do believe in. One of the reasons why I didn't do debate, or maybe we should have been doing debates, is because I wasn't sure if we can have a debate without crossing the line, without getting to a point where we're insulting each other. That's why I never did debate. But I think the conversation that we had, the exchange, I think was a very good one. As an at-large council member, I represent all of Nashville. And so I listen to everyone's opinion. I listen to everybody's take in order to be able to make a decision. We will not agree. We will not agree. We will have people in our community that wants to raise taxes. We'll have people in our community that don't want to raise taxes. Everybody is coming from different places. Everybody's looking out for their own, all their community's interests. And so we have to take all of that into conversation. There are 40 people on the council. Everybody don't think the same way that all our citizens don't think the same way. And I think that putting that in perspective is very important. Now, I will encourage all of you to not let the conversation stop here. I think that I would hope that Lou and Odessa can have a off-camera conversation, and so that they can see each other's perspective and try to convince each other whichever way they want to go. I hope that people on the call are having this conversation with their council members, with each other. For me, a budget is a moral document. And I think that it's got to do what the people want, and it's got to help the people, all of the people. That's why I'm having this conversation, to be able to get the people's input on what we do. Next week, it's going to be the budget perspective, but it's going to be my perspective. I want to answer all of your questions on this process, what I've learned, where I am, where I'm leading, what I'm going, what I will do and what I will not do. I've been able to learn a lot from all of you. And I think it's been a good thing. I'm going to continue the Facebook conversation after the budget, but it will probably be every quarter. It's not going to be every week. And then when the next budget roll around, we'll start every week again. But I think this conversation should not stop. I want to take from what Amir said. We're always waiting till the last minute and trying to find a solution. We want to cut and cut and cut here. I don't believe in cutting here as an accountant, because if you cut, you don't know the consequences of what you're cutting. Unless somebody's look at the studies and see what is the implication, what are we looking at, what are we losing, what does it mean? It's not the best way to go. Sometimes you might cut what you think you're saving. That's my take on that. But again, I thank everyone that has been commenting. I thank everyone that has joined. I hope you plan to join me next week for my intake. I thank my panelists. Please go back to the Facebook. There's some questions that are in there for you that only you can answer. There's some comments that you can take from. Let's keep it going. And I hope that we all, my fellow council members, are listening, and that we'll be able to do what is best, if not all, for majority of Nashvilleians. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be talking to you all later. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.